This is a classic move. If you got nothing else, it's a little bop to the left, a little bop to the right. Woo! What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. It's the day before Thanksgiving. Thankful for everything. Let's get into it. What a crazy day. You ever have one of those days where you think it's going to go one way and it curb tails to the other? I mean, it started with me being woken up, right? And what? No, thank you. But it was my girlfriend, and she woke me up, and I was like, I don't want to get up, you know? I'm sleeping, right? No? Okay. So I got up and I went over to the couch and turned on the TV because I was going to watch the new episode of The Flash, right? Because it's a new episode of the crossover event Armageddon. I will get there. But instead of doing that, I saw NASA launched a dart into space. And at first thought, because, and full disclosure, I was a little tired, okay? Like I got woken up. You ever been woken up? You're kind of groggy. You don't really know where you're at. Kind of stumbled out into the living room like, oh, you're a jerk. And then turn on the TV and it was like dart flew into space. And my first thought was like, because you know how Elon Musk shot a Tesla. Well, he shot his Tesla. He shot his car onto Mars. Um, so I thought, oh, so now Dodge Dart is doing the same thing. But I couldn't say that because as I was thinking that in my head, I knew, as all of you are thinking, like, this guy's an idiot. Yeah, so I didn't vocalize that. However, since my brain had already gone down kind of a not so great path, all I could muster to say out loud was, "Oh, are you subscribed to NASA? Like what? What? Why? Why don't I just click on the video?" So I clicked on the video, and oh my goodness, did you guys know that we launched a rocket into space? And not just a rocket into space, a reusable rocket into space. What? Okay, so if you don't know, and I don't know much, so this is just ear to ear. This is like a bad game of telephone. So, watch out. But from what I understand, SpaceX, which is Elon Musk's company, I think, they build rockets. And one of the things that they've been trying to do is build reusable rockets so that once the rocket, because the rocket only gets the thing out of orbit, I'm pretty sure. And then the rocket comes back and it usually gets destroyed. And there goes probably millions of dollars. And so Elon has been trying to, as he is trying to save the planet 10 times over, he was trying to build a reusable rocket that would just come back down safely and that you could reuse. And you're like, all right, that's never going to happen. Well, it just did. Yesterday, when they launched this program, not only did they launch a reusable rocket, it had already been used. So this was the reuse test. And it came back and landed to be reused again. What? Okay. So this program, DART, it's not Dodge Dart launching a I'm sorry for that. But what it is it's our first planetary defense. Now, before I go any further, and it's mentioned many times throughout the launch of this thing, this is a test, right? Like we're not under, this thing is supposed to it's supposed to be our planetary defense for asteroids and things hitting and impacting our Earth as we know it. Just the dinosaurs got destroyed by asteroids. We, of course, have astronomers all over the world. And this is what I found fascinating. A lot of this stuff, you kind of know, but when you're not looking at it day to day, you forget. So I hadn't seen anybody launch a rocket out into space in a while. And they were talking about science and kind of how everything's been kind of working out with this new planetary defense system, or the test of this planetary defense system. Because basically, they've been having all these ideas. Okay, all these asteroids are in space. If they ever were to come in trajectory, like I'm saying now, and like they were saying, no asteroids are on their way. In fact, one guy made a point to say at the current moment, as far as I can tell, there's no asteroids that have any level of disaster wise hitting us in the next 100 years. So there you go. But this is just a test of what would happen if there was an asteroid headed to us. How could we, disperse or protect ourselves from this asteroid. And it was really like fascinating, like kind of science. And if you want to watch it, like go into it. But it was what they're trying to do is they're basically launching this thing in the space, the impact with this asteroid to move it off its trajectory just a little bit. But that little bit, because it's so far out in space, if it were to ever come towards us, would mean like hundreds of thousands of miles of like distance. Like, if a trajectory was the Earth and we just nudged it a little bit while it's still way far out where it is, by the time it would get to us, like I'm saying, this is just a hypothetical. This thing is not coming towards us at all. This is just a test. If it was coming at us, right, if we just moved it just a little bit out of its trajectory because of how far it is away, by the time it got to us, that little movement equates to like thousands of miles of difference, and the asteroid would miss us, completely. And so what they're using is kinetic energy. So they're basically going to hit this thing and move it off its course. And what was really cool is how they can figure out if what the difference is, because what this is it's an asteroid that's orbiting a bigger asteroid, right? So it's going around in a circle, and as it goes around in a circle, because it's like orbiting this bigger asteroid, it emits like a light. Now of course it can't be like seen by us, but with our telescopes and things like that, we are able to like detect like the light frequency as this thing orbits this asteroid. So after we hit it with our spaceship, after NASA hits it with its thing, they'll be able to look at that with that light wavelength again and see what the new trajectory or what the new like pattern of this asteroid is compared to its orbit around the bigger asteroid. I mean, I might have butchered that and I apologize, but that is some interesting like stuff. And just to think that we're in a situation where we're working on like planetary defense and really trying to like understand what might be out there, and the interconnectivity of the different like nations like globally around the world that are working together, especially like just like companies that are working together like with NASA. Like this is a huge like collaboration between SpaceX and NASA and a few other facilities like around the world. Like I think like the main there's this really cool like camera that sits inside that will eject out of the spacecraft right before it hits. And it'll like basically spread out like wings that have rays to get the sun to power it up, and it'll take video footage of what the impact is and up and around like the side of the asteroid, and hopefully relay that footage like back here where the scientists will go over and kind of see like what it is and what's going on, and kind of see what the test is if like we ever did have an asteroid coming to us, how we would be able to like defend it, or this is like one method we could be used. But the amount of time that goes into this, I watched the launch yesterday, but of course like this stuff has been going on for the last like 8 years, right? And this like planetary defense like committee was, I guess, like formed back in like 2016. When they, because now that we started like mapping and everything like that and how far off we can see, hey, it's really interesting like how far we've come, and how much interconnectivity and kind of cooperation we're seeing like around the world. And it kind of like really like points to the fact like, like these are the things that we can focus on to accept our differences and kind of come together, because there are these things that, impact us globally, and, providing like working on solutions and understanding those problems together, utilizing our differences. That's how we're going to face and understand like what might be coming like at us or towards us, like, in the future. Like it was a really interesting like launch, and it's called a DART, and it's a really cool program. And the thing's not going to hit the asteroid for like another 10 months. So, I mean, there's not much more other to say than that it just launched and away it goes. But it's going to hit this thing at like 15,000 miles per hour, which the guy was explaining was like, if you blinked your eyes, you could go from like here to New York. You go from like California to New York, like blink and you're there. That's how fast this thing is going to hit the asteroid. So that's kind of incredible. But yeah, it was just super exciting to see what's going on with that. But with that, speaking of, outer space and spacecraft and new technology that's leading us into a science fiction-y type world, let's dive into the second episode of The Flash. So, Armageddon is the new crossover event, which I mean, it is a crossover event, but it's happening solely on The Flash. Like, usually when we do these crossover events, they like one's on The Flash and then they go to Arrow. I mean, that's not a thing anymore. And then they go to, Legends and da 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 da. But now this is just because I guess everybody's on the same world. They don't really have to jump around to different episodes because they're not jumping around to different like universes or anything like that. It's all on Earth Prime. So I mean, but no other. I mean, we've seen a little bit of like Supergirl's somewhat characters like jump in, and mainly it's just to kind of like tell us or that we have no idea who this Despero character is. Which, if you haven't watched the first episode, spoiler alert, because this is on episode 2. But I'm just saying, like, Despero is this alien guy who's come to like judge the Flash because the Flash is gonna like his mind's going to crack and he's going to destroy everything. And we're like, okay, but why does this matter to this alien guy who's incredibly powerful? Like, he is the most strongest villain we've seen thus far ever. I mean, he's got the durability of a Kryptonian. I mean, this guy's not going to be easy to take down. So, anyways, he's basically judging the Flash, and the Flash in the second episode is having the worst of days possible. I mean, it is just a no bueno day. He's been told that he's going to go crazy and use his elevated like source of powers, because if you missed again the first episode, his power level is like way up there now. So now the fear is if he cracks with his abilities, with how strong he is, he could do a lot more damage than we've ever seen him be able to do. And that's what everybody's worried about. And there's this metahuman that like causes people to go crazy and kind of acts Flash to go like nuts a little bit. And you're kind of like, what's going on? And you kind of think Despero's like playing with his mind because Despero has like really powerful like psychic abilities. And so you kind of think like the whole time Despero's like adding on to this stress and manipulating Flash in some way. But not really, and neither does this metahuman, because the metahuman gets like taken down, and even Despero's like, you don't understand, like my homeworld was destroyed, and I saved this person, and he wound up being twice as bad, and he killed everybody, so I can't let that happen, and I've adopted Earth as my homeworld, so I have to stop you. And kind of the big crack in the whole thing, right? That like nobody sees, but I didn't see coming, and I'm really super confused. And maybe that's the point. And spoiler alert, completely. But Joe West is apparently no more. He died like 6 months ago, and for whatever reason, Barry has no idea. I mean, neither do I, but everybody else does. And so he kind of like he keeps like, oh, let's go over to Joe's and like have dinner. Like now that we've like defeated the metahuman and kind of solved Despero, and no one's acted crazy, and everyone's like, why do you keep like bringing up Joe? Like it's hard on all of us. Like, well, what's going on? And he's like, what are you guys talking about? And he's like, well, Joe's been gone for 6 months. And you're like, what? And he like runs over to Joe West's house and like races around, starts freaking out. And Cecile's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I'm trying to get over this, and I'm an empath, and you're like freaking me out. And she's like, you guys are lying. He's not gone. He's not gone. Because we're like, what is how is he gone? Right? And apparently Barry doesn't understand. And then Despero basically is like, see, this is how you crack. It's been you all along. And you're like, what is going on? And then they're able to like prevent Despero from killing the Flash. And the Flash like runs off. And everyone's like super concerned that he's now gonna come back a little more broken than before. Because I mean, he's really like, what's happening here? Why is Joe gone? Am I missing something? Like, Joe's gone. Barry has no idea what's going on, and everybody else is like mourning his death. Clearly, like everybody's in pain. Since episode 1, I've been kind of confused, but I didn't really like notice it until now. But everyone's been like in pain like throughout this whole time this crossover event happened. So a lot of questions going on here, but we'll kind of start to see, because he goes, at least at the end of the episode, we see that Barry goes to the Justice League like table, and he meets up with Black Lightning, and he goes, and Black Lightning's like, what's going on, Barry? And he goes, injustice. I don't know if that's some sort of clue, but that sounds real ominous of something. So we finally see another superhero enter the stage. The crossover event is going to kick off, I guess, in episode 3, because episode 2 he didn't really happen to the end. Despero is still, I'm still confused if he's good or bad or both. I'm not really sure. And this is really interesting. I haven't been this captivated by The Flash in a while. And this crossover event is really well done as far as I'm concerned. I've been at the edge of my seat the whole time. And I will say, kind of side note here, just because I like to ramble about things. And I know this won't happen, but like, my goodness, people put things on YouTube faster than you can blink an eye. Oh my, like, and because like, of course, like I like this series, I sometimes I go back and I watch like a few like scenes or whatever from like my favorite episodes. And because I've done that, YouTube suggests like other Flash episodes. And so as soon as I went to my YouTube this morning, which I should have never done, and I'll try to avoid that next time, but I saw I was like, what do you mean Joe's gone? And that was one thing I saw that like, cause somebody had like posted that scene up, which I can't blame them. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. It's my fault for looking at it, I guess. But I was like, oh, okay, dude, quickly scroll away, click. But once it's in there, it's in there. But even if you see it, you kind of, I mean, if you can use it to your advantage, I kind of sat there going, okay, when is this part going to come in and how is it going to be played? Because I didn't click on the video. I just read the title, unfortunately. And I was still, thankfully surprised of what was going on. Sadly surprised because I don't want this to be the case. But I'm thinking that this is what's going to break the Flash, and maybe he's just used his speed thinking to build up like a speed wall against these like painful memories. And once he kind of breaks down and like figures out what happens, he is gonna break and try and run back in time and save it. And that's what like breaks everything. I I don't know. You guys let me know below, but I'm super excited for episode 3. I don't know if they'll take a break now because it's going to be Thanksgiving, well, tomorrow, but I'm surprised we got an episode yesterday. But anyways, I mean, oh my goodness, I'm super stoked. So you got, we're going off into space and we're defending the planet. You got the Flash racing around so he doesn't destroy everything. I mean, you got the best of both worlds. I don't know how it's the best of both worlds, but the science and things that we're exploring and the interconnectivity and just like cooperation that's being experienced in the realm of like, how do we, not only protect the earth exterior but interior, like we see a lot of things in like how we like better do farming and grow food and things like that. So super exciting stuff that I think like of course there's a lot of bad things going on in there, but there's a lot of fun things, and this is a really exciting time. So it's the new place and I'm here to tell you all about it. So thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we'll catch you guys all in the next one. Until next time, later.